The business is its own entity. It's not me and I am not it, which allows me a level of dissociation from it, which is healthy for me because I don't try to be everything to the business and the business isn't everything to me.
It's not like I'm doing this because Nicole said. It's that we're all bought into this vision. And so we know what the business requires. So we're all trying to do what that requirement is to the best of our ability.
There is a level of trust that is required, but that's culture.
I feel like I'm such a valuable part of this system and the team behind the scenes versus just having to be the one with all the answers. And it really does increase your value and it increases your profitability when you do expand behind the scenes.
If you're trying to be everything to your business and everything to your clients, that is the fast track to burnout. What we're going to talk about now is one of the biggest, I think, growth opportunities and one of the biggest joys for growing our business has been finding, like I said yesterday, finding amazing, talented people that I get to work with. And the more I find great people to work with, the more I want to do it and the more fun I get to have and the more creative we get to be. And there's so many layers of this because on one hand, there's more ways that I'm supported, which gives me more brain power to be able to be more creative. Because if I was like so bogged down with everything from all of the teaching to the client support, to the client success, to the systems, which is where we used to be when it was really more just Dan and I wouldn't have the space to do fun things like this. And when we used to host events, our very first event was Dan and I at our beach club, and it was on the beach. We had a small table in the corner, and it was me. I literally made all the food, like from my house to this. And that is a lot of years between then and now. And there's a lot of growth. And my goal, again, is for you to just feel like I can be supported. And it doesn't mean that you have a team like ours. It doesn't mean it looks like this. But in your life right now, where can you be open to receiving more support and putting down the burden of you needing to carry it all? There's no trophy for carrying it all. And the more I realized that, and the more I realized, hey, I'm actually not the best at every single thing in our business. I'm the best at what I'm the best at. And then there's other people who can do things way faster, way more, with way more excellence than I can. And opening up myself to that support has been one of the most rewarding things for me, and has also benefited our business. And then if you want to talk about the ripple effect of, again, just showing our families and our kids that like, no, my parents actually do have a lot of support and I can have that too for my life. So we wanted to do a team panel because we really want to pull back the curtain and just let you ask questions, but also see the context. And just also to see the way that your language, your words create your reality. Your words create your world. So if you're sitting here saying, yeah, but I can't find that unicorn. Yeah, but whatever that is for you, it costs too much. Yeah, but that is what you're literally creating because none of us on this team works 40 hours a week. No one. And when we hire someone new and they come in, we were looking for someone to help us with social. And she was like, well, I want 40 hours a week. And I was like, well, no one on our team works 40 hours a week. So that's going to be really hard because that job doesn't exist for us. So just know, like, it's possible for you. And what I want you to take away is just the glimmer of like, I can be more supported and I'm open to being more supported. I get to figure out what that looks like for my life. And my other intention is for you to walk away from these 2 days really seeing that you get to make the decisions in your life and you get to build the business that you want to have. in accordance with your values, in accordance with the impact you want to have. And all we want for you, like, is for you to live your best life, is for you to have your most profitable business, is for you to have wild fun in your business, just like we get to. So this is our team and our support system for you. So I want to start with a little bit of context, and then we really can go in whatever direction you want to go in. Do you want to just share? I think it would be really helpful if we could share, if each of you could just share your roles, because you see them, right? Like see like little glimmers, but the context is really, really important. And the other thing I want you to know, especially if you're brand new to the room, these are long-time relationships. Long-time relationships. These are people we've been working together for years. We've known each other for years. This is not a company where it's an open door with people coming in and out. And that is because of the values that our company is built. It's because of the trust that this is built on, and it's because of the communication. So we can answer any questions you have, but I will tell you, like, it's built on a lot of like respect, trust, and open communication. And that's why they stay on both ends. It's a win-win-win for all of us to work together. So, Jess, you want to start?
I'm Jess, as you all know already. I am typically the first person most of you talk to after Dan. And my job is essentially to make sure that you guys have everything that you need. You can get the access you need, you know, the resources available to you, and to then connect anything, questions, et cetera, that you have to the team in the best way possible and get you the resources and feedback that you need. I also work a lot behind the scenes with Katie Widrick to everything with the schedule, the calendar, booking calls, all of those things. And then I help out significantly at the live events. And I just celebrated 4 years with Elevate a few weeks ago. Yeah.
My name is Lindsay Murray, and I've known Nicole and Dan for 12 years, forever, through children and changes in business. And I really pride myself on coming in and just supporting Nicole however she needs support. It started with real social strategy and just being that mirror on the other side of the screen to help her develop really what it looked like to bring Elevated, but also Nicole and what she wanted to do onto platforms. And now I get to do that behind the scenes with all of you on our quarterly sessions. And it really just lights me up to be able to be part of this community and this team, and just the way that I have been welcomed in as a very unique piece where I'm not necessarily behind the scenes, but I know so much about each and every one of you because they just speak so highly, and we're always kind of communicating on wins and things that are happening on the trackers. And so I really I get this like intimate piece of the team and the community. And it just is why I keep showing up, where I might not manage her social or be on every call. I see you all anymore. But it's really been just a wonderful place in my life that I get to be part of this community and just always show up to the events and bring my best for all of you who show up every day in yours.
My name's Katie. If you don't know, I'm the messaging coach and consultant for Elevate. Like Lindsay, I have my own business, and I started working with the Culvers. I met the Culvers in 2018 when we became friends. And then I started working in Elevate, I think on an every other month capacity or quarterly capacity, because you wanted somebody to come in and host a messaging call, because you guys are doing calls after calls after calls. So the initial request was like, you came to me and were like, we really want somebody to come in and take over and teach our strategy, but also bring your own expertise, your background to our people. And so then the role kind of grew from there, and it kind of went into every month, and then it was multiple calls per month, and then it was one-to-one calls. And it's been a joy to work with them as a client. And also I have all of you guys as extensions of my client. Like I talk about you guys as if you were my own client. And I'm not behind the scenes much like Lindsay, but I work closely with Jess and Katie Widrick on updates and making sure I have, all the context I need about your businesses, because you really are providing really kind of boutique, bespoke consulting to you guys. And it's really cool because what I've loved about this role and why I've been with them for so long is because I get to be an expert on the elevated processes and structure and strategy, but they also have always been like, bring in your communications background, bring in your business storytelling, bring in your creative stuff. Come talk more about how to be creative as a business owner, because we know you love books and movies and TV, and you can like assign that to how our audience can do it. And that's been a real joy to kind of have that freedom. And then also, you know, there's no like babysitting going on. Like they're not coming to me going, here's your deck for the live event. I will ask for direction sometimes from Nicole or Dan or Katie and ask like, what's the theme? Or like Nicole loves downloading kind of stuff that she's thinking about. I take it, run with it, put it into a deck. And so I also bring my own ideas, my own structure, and we frequently will change things up because I'm like, guys, I think we need to focus on this month. So they've been a long-time client, and I love that predictability of, you know, somebody who has my own business, of having a client that I can depend on, that I know how to work with. And I'm just so grateful for them and for you guys. And it's something where they've always highlighted my differences. They're like, oh, we have a new client and she has a corporate background. Katie Soy has a corporate background. So please come in and talk about this. And so I've never been like, they've always really celebrated my differences and what I can bring to different business owners. And that's always been a joy as well, because I am different in the online space. And I love to celebrate that. And so do they. And so it's just been this great long-term relationship, like you said, built on trust and really freedom and creativity, which I appreciate.
I love hearing the perspective of what they think their roles are too, because but I'm like, because when I was thinking like, how am I going to answer that? I was like, well, the straight answer is like technically head of system, but like it's a little bit of everything. And I mean that in the most beautiful way. And many of you have heard me say this, and it kind of dates my TV watching, but I like Olivia Pope from Scandal is the fixer, right? And I was like, well, that's actually my job. Like some days it's to coordinate the team and to put out summer schedules. Sometimes it's helping to schedule an automation or an email, but it's a lot of just like what's coming up, what needs to be made easier, what needs to be made easier for the team from an energy standpoint, but also like what's that, like the actual automation, right? Like what product are we setting up? So a lot of the work that I get to do behind the scenes with Nicole and Dan is also, I feel again, like a Hannah Montana best of both worlds kind of moment, because then I also get to work with you guys front facing and help you scale your business and talk to you about team and what do you need in order to get your time back and how do we improve your systems. And it's a beautiful thing for me. I feel very like it's not selfish. I don't know what the more positive spin on that, but I'm like, I can't believe I've created a world where I get to work with Nicole and Dan and the team and really kind of run operationally behind the scenes, let them be in their full zone of genius all the time and get to hang out with you guys and like poke my fingers into your business. So that's really what I do. And like so many of the team members shared, like it's such a beautiful thing to let your personality shine through too. I have a systems and automations background. And I think for a long time I was like, well, I have to, no, I'm like, hey, I've got a freak flag and it's flying, you know, and I'm going to wear my like fringy purple boots and that's cool. And I can be respected and be appreciated and still be like, oh, but I'm also the best of the best at what I do, right? That actually was not my personality archetype before Elevated. Like it wasn't. I have a healthy ego. I have a healthy appreciation for what I do, but the level of being able to like truly embody it and say it comes from this crew too, who will absolutely not let you get away with your BS, right? Like they will call you out and be like, what do you mean? Why are you using that word? So the reason I share all of that is just like my goal, and I hope that we do this, is just to like take the culture from Nicole and Dan. It's a very co-created culture at the top and just kind of infuse it. And I think like communication, making sure the team feels like, even at the event, like, here's what we think we're going to do. I want you to feel prepared with everything from like, which outfit are you going to wear to when can you take a bathroom break? But also like, but we're going to be so nimble. It's very possible we'll rip up the run of show. And are you down for it? And the team members that have lasted this long have been like, yes, and like, help me prepare, help me be the best of the best, but put me on stage and throw questions at me and I'm ready to go. And I feel like that for the last 18 months, particularly has shifted the team.
And what I'll add to that is I want, like I talked about yesterday, like take the mask off. I just want them to know me and me to know them, but it really does go both ways. I'm unapologetic in my needs and my desires for the business, and I don't feel bad for them. So when I say like, this is my CEO day, they support the heck out of that because I honor their needs and desires too. Now, does that mean, and it's obviously very nuanced, because I think with some like the newer, like, I don't want to say like it's a generational thing, but I think that it can go too far with like unlimited paid time off. And that's not what this is, but there is a deep respect for each person and their needs and desires, because they understand that and they respect it. So we know each other so intimately, where it's like, okay, I know Katie Soy really likes to know what is happening. And we didn't used to do that so much at events, where it was like a little too loosey-goosey. And I know like how each person, and like Katie also has brought in the systems to be able to support that. But I know, okay, like Lindsay is fine. Like I could not tell Lindsay anything, and she would show up and I'd be like, go on stage and talk right now. And she'd be like, good. Katie 100% could do that. But in order for her to operate at her best and to feel the safest and to perform as the best of the best, she likes more information.
Can I add to that though?
Yeah.
Yesterday I threw out half my talk that I'm doing today. Just FYI. So like there, wow, thank you so much. Yeah, it was my call. And I was like, that's it. We need to do this. And they were like, okay, let's pivot. Like I immediately was like, this is coming up for me. I feel really strongly about it. And so I threw half of it out. And they were like, oh my gosh, that's so great. Because like, this is like, it's growth for me too.
Yeah.
But also I know that if I come up and stutter or mess up on something that is thrown last minute, there's never going to be any, like there's that freedom of like full support. Like we threw this at you. And I wanted to add too, to one thing that you said about like your CEO day support. In the same way, like I work in other people's businesses. I have my own business. And so I give my hours to Katie and Jess. And I'm like, here's the days I'm working. And like we all work within turn times. And there's great communication about that. But I started taking a half CEO day in 2024 because of you. And that became a full CEO day in 2025. And so because of that, which was your influence, I'm like, I'm not going to be answering emails on this day, typically, unless there's some kind of emergency. And they were like, great, thanks for letting us know. Now we know how to set expectations. So I just want you guys to know that there is that, like if people aren't full-time in your company, there's just such open, direct communication and full support. And of course, she's going to be like, take your CEO day. And so, and that's like applauded that we're all working on our own things or, you know, whatever. So just to give an example of like, if people are not full-time, it can still be so open and direct, and everybody's got transparency, and there's never anything that's dropped.
Dan didn't get, I mean, everybody knows Dan, but is there any perspective you want to share about the work you do on the team that might surprise people?
I mean, I'm the job that I have on the team is really sales and client success. And everyone, like where I have the most support now is basically Nicole sets my boundaries and Katie and Jess enforce them. But no, it's like my time is so protected because we've seen it. When I dip too far into client success, our sales take a hit. When I go too deep into sales, then the client success suffers. So like it's a balancing act. Like I almost feel like I'm the middle of the business where I can oscillate between back and forth. I also feel like Nicole has done such a good job of protecting her time and stepping into that next level. Now it's my turn to step into that next level and have my time protected. And so there's a lot of things that right now I'm practicing just staying out of, where like it was before, it was like Katie, Jess, and I working as a team. And then it was like, okay, Katie and Jess were reporting to me. And now it's like Katie and Jess don't talk to me about like in a good way, you know, because they're like, we know how to do this. We don't need your input. If there is something we need your input on, we will ask for it. But like even the other day, they let me know something was happening. And I was like, oh, well, I would do it this way, but actually do not listen to me.
Yeah, he like recalled this. He was like, no, like you guys have it. I want to observe something too, just even when you were talking. We have done a few of these panels, and I remember saying to Nicole, like, wow, a massive shift I've seen in your leadership is you are now head coach for the team in the most supportive way. Like it's personal, but it's also professional. Hey, I'm really struggling with like, how do I address this with a client? Or you're the space, I feel like we've been able to receive the most upper level coaching and mentorship from you. But that has also, Dan, I have seen a massive shift in how I can come to you for the same thing. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I've been, transactional in my business. Like I'm in the weeds. I still have to do this, this, and this. There is a future for you if you want it, where you can still be highly aware of all of that and have input and be like, my role is actually shifting now into helping my team, because like every minute that Nicole spends with us is 1 to 100 when we're talking to you guys on a group call, or the way we address a one-on-one, or the level of support and straight to the top. And I find myself saying, I said to Nicole, I'm like, I stole your words. And she's like, no, you did. Like I infused them in you, and now you're broadcasting them. And I just, even at this event, Dan, I've had so many moments where I'm like, Dan is now stepping into his next level. And I'm hoping that you're like, well, I have the space and the capacity to like answer Katie's crazy question, or go brainstorm, like step out and be like, what if, and we come up with the next level thing for clients. Like, I don't know that you and I could have done that as successfully 6 months ago, because you were still so much in the weeds.
Yeah. And it's been interesting because like, I feel like we've had to set boundaries both on the sales side and the client success side, so that I have more bandwidth to think through things or do different things. So it is like kind of leading back to what I talked about yesterday, of just like setting the goal, like, all right, we want more sales, but I can't be doing 7 sales calls a week, So what is the number I can do? And then setting that and figuring out, because I think Emily and I were talking too, is like, I like doing sales calls, and I could do 7 in a day and feel good about it. Like,
I think it's important to note this and maybe talk about this, is like you said, they look and see how many you have for next week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You hold your own.
So Katie and Katie and Jess do like schedule all the calls, but I can put calls on my calendar. So
Kenan does.
Kenan does. So there are times where I'll be like, oh, I'll get a sale, and I'm like, if you sign up right now, we can do a call next week. Or or I'll be like, no, this person, they need to talk to me next week. I don't care. Put on my calendar. And so there are times where like we'll kind of bend the rules, but for the most part, it's a practice where I can't. Like, even someone asked me something yesterday, and I was like, I can't answer that question. I might know the answer, but I don't really know the answer. So you have to talk to Katie or Jess, And that also is just like knowing my role. Is like, I really wasn't involved with the live event. When I walked in the doors yesterday, that was my first time seeing this and being like, holy crap, we did that. Like, I heard that we were getting a stage, but that's really it, So it's really just like understanding, okay, the role the business needs for me is doing this. And it's not like, control. It's just like, okay, this is what the business needs. And I think that's what all of us understand, is like, we're not doing this because the boss said so. We all recognize the business deserves this, and this is how we're going to show up. And so that's the thing that we have had some people who are no longer on the team. And one of the things that comes up is like, they don't respect the business at the level that it needs to be. And so that is kind of like the first chink in the armor, or maybe sometimes the last, where we're like, oh, you don't get it. You know what I mean? And we get it, And so it's not like I'm doing this because Nicole said. It's that we're all bought into this vision. And so we know what the business requires. So we're all trying to do what that requirement is to the best of our ability.
And if we've done that successfully, if one of you were to approach Dan or Nicole and ask a question, and they were like, oh, I don't know, go ask Jess and Katie. I really hope, and I'll gut check this, because if you're not feeling this, you should tell us. But I really hope you're not like, oh my gosh, they don't know. Or it's actually like, look at this team I've empowered. Like, my expert of experts over here on client success is going to give you a better answer. So like, look at the team I've brought in. And that's like, that should be the feeling, like, oh my gosh, thank you for directing me, right? And I think a lot of conversations I have with you all about scaling, and I've had some in this room, it's like, well, my clients need me. Or if it's not me, right? Like, but I can't scale myself. I want you guys to start to see these are some of the little tweaks. And again, it's like Nicole being confident, being like, go see Jess. And knowing hopefully that your response is like, oh, that's amazing that Nicole did that and has communicated, and everyone has the autonomy and the authority to go answer it. It's a massive level of trust. I'm sure when we open it up for questions, they're going to be, I can almost predict some of the questions, but it's going to be about like, well, how, you don't know what they're saying. Okay, there is a level of trust that is required, but that's culture. And that Nicole can't outsource that. Right? Like, I can communicate, we can put in systems, but it has to come from Nicole and from Dan. And if they are not feeling like they have the space to like be thoughtful and take a break and like, how do I communicate it? Then the rest of it falls apart.
I just want to add something that I feel like you guys do this in a way that I've worked with a lot of online businesses, a lot of, business owners, and you guys do this in a way that not everybody does. And it really is a roadblock. And I don't mean this in a mean way, but if you look at like Apple, if a new employee went to Tim Cook, the CEO or soon to be ex-CEO, and was like, I have a question on my hiring, he'd be like, go to my HR director. Yeah. If a new person had a yes, like you wouldn't get to Tim Cook. And like same thing, like they have CMOs, they have they have HR directors, they have CFOs, and there's not like an ego thing of him going, go talk to my HR director, or here's my marketing person. Obviously, there's metrics you have to meet to stay at the company, but there's no ego of like, why would I answer this? Of course, like he wouldn't know. And you guys have never had the ego of like, oh, you can't go to Katie Soy if you've got a messaging question. You'll frequently both loop me in, and I'll be like, oh, here's my answer, but I want to get Dan's take. And there's just no ego that you just don't see that in other companies, where a lot of online business owners I've seen have had like that. And it might not be ego, it might just be budget or whatever. And they're the roadblock because they feel like they have to be the HR director, the marketing director, the accountant, and they can't give anybody full ownership.
Yeah. And that has been my perspective for a lot of years around like the business is its own entity. You will hear me talk a lot about being in relationship with things, like being in relationship with money, being in relationship with myself, with wealth. Like that's how I think about this. That's how I think about everything. I think everything is a relationship. And for me, my business has always been a separate, not always, I won't say always. Since we have had a multi-six-figure business, I have operated as my business is its own entity. It's not me and I am not it, which allows me a level of dissociation from it, which is healthy for me because I don't try to be everything to the business and the business isn't everything to me. So it's really important because when you can just disassociate like that in a healthy way, then you can say, well, yeah, obviously I can't be everything. So I need someone who's going to help me. I need someone who's going to support me. And I don't carry the weight of everything on my shoulders. And I don't feel like I need to be all things to every single one of you. So that has allowed me the growth because I think of it and I answer questions against what does the business need right now? What does the business desire right now? And I'm not the only one filling it. And I love the analogy of like a restaurant because restaurants are brutal, right? If one person was working at a restaurant and tried to do everything, first of all, a restaurant is already a borderline impossible business to make profitable. You put one person in there, how are they ever going to serve everyone? They're going to be the cook. They're going to be the server. Have you ever been to a place that was short-staffed and you're like pulling your hair out and you're like, no, peace. It's the same thing. If you're trying to be everything to your business and everything to your clients, that is the fast track to burnout. So you have to figure out how do you do this in a way that works for you, where you're like, I am not my business is not me. And I can kind of be in relationship and in communication with my business so I can understand its needs, wants, and desires.
I wanted to add to that because Dan's talk about value and price, I think a lot of times we immediately go to adding more. And I really enjoyed that conversation earlier today. But I look at teams that I work with and I hire or I pay, and I really see the value in the structure of the organization versus what I'm getting as a tangible outcome or even like a curriculum or anything like that. I really think that you increase your value by increasing who supports how valuable you are at. Speaking of Nicole, if you go into a team and you feel like your question isn't going to get answered or something might fall through the cracks or your email won't get answered, that chips away at the value that you're investing from a monetary standpoint. And so you can increase your internal value and the value you provide energetically to your clients when you know behind the scenes that you've brought value to the organization with a team. That is really what people do invest in subconsciously, and they're making that decision whether you want them to or not, whether they see it on social or not. If you are everything to everyone, it almost diminishes your value. At least that's my perspective. And whenever I go into teams like this, or the reason I keep coming back to work with Nicole really is because I feel like I'm such a valuable part of this system and the team behind the scenes versus just having to be the one with all the answers. And it really does increase your value and it increases your profitability when you do expand behind the scenes.
My name is Allie Doran, and my question is, so I think I'm very trusting, and I've done a really great job at that. I feel that our clients have gotten so much value from team members that I've had. I'm currently parting ways with a team member I had for a long time. I think we both outgrew the relationship. But what I'm really feeling kind of stuck about, and what I noticed about your team, you said that word like boutique. Like, we are a very boutique business. And I often feel confused about what to hire for because, you know, a lot like I'll talk with other people in business and they'll be like, oh, you need like, and they'll throw out like a term, like an administrative assistant, like an OBA, like there's so many different terms. And I feel like where I've run up against a lot of friction, I think internally, is when what I'm needing, and I'm going to go figure out what that is, but it doesn't necessarily match like a job description. And then when the relationship changes, as the business does, I have trouble. I think I've had trouble, and I would like to get better at like redefining expectations, but not having to do so every week. And then this is like very multi-layered, but like, then how does pay scale not outpace the business, but then match like the new expectations and not have team members feel like, well, shoot, like you hired me for email support, girl, and now I'm like helping you. Like, sometimes people like get a little entitled and they're like, oh, well, like you're not valuing me enough. And I'm like, but you know, I don't know. Did that make sense? Like, how do you build a boutique role because I think we're all unique. Like, we don't just all need like, I don't know, just some title. We need like like the unicorn. They exist. The unicorn exists. But how do we contain that?
Jess also didn't, I talked to Jess about this yesterday, you didn't start this way, right?
No, but like, then how do you keep like, are y'all having conversations every week about expectations? Because that's where I feel like I was. And it was like, oh my God, I'm confused. You're confused. Nobody knows what the role is anymore.
Yeah. Well, first I'll say I've done this bad so many times. It just is. Even with the last person we fired very recently, I was like, I learned so much with this. And the next time we hire for this, it's going to look different because I'm very trusting. I'm very like similar.
You know I am. Yeah.
Similarly, I'm very trusting until I start to see the red flags. And then it's very hard to claw your way back from that. And I've tried to claw my way back from that many times, and it hasn't worked yet. I'll put a yet in there because maybe one day it will. I think redefining the expectations is really important. Do I think it? And I would love to hear from like your all perspective, but I think when you know the job is changing and when you start to feel it's changing, you have to renegotiate what they're doing and what they're talking about. This I have done well before, where it's like, hey, I know you came in for this thing, but actually what the business needs is this. Are you up for that? Do you want that kind of growth? And I've actually had people I've had 100% them say that and say like, I want more. And then I've had people who aren't here anymore who've said, I want more. And it did work out for a period of time until it didn't. And it was like, hey, the role actually does require this. And are you up for it? Do you want it? And give them permission to say no or yes. If you want it, yes, absolutely great. Here's what it requires. And here's where we're going to go. But our context for our business always is being very upfront and honest. We are a small team. We move very, very quickly. Mistakes are welcome. Always over communicate with us. I say that all the time. I would rather you over communicate. Even when we brought Brianne and Danny in, I was like, hey, listen, please over communicate. And we tried to bring another social person in. And I was like, please over communicate. If anything is bad, wrong, you're confused, you're overwhelmed, tell me before it goes south. That's all I ask. Some people can't handle that because they're too much of a perfectionist to produce bad work. I would rather you give me bad work and be honest and upfront and let me decide if I can train you or someone else on my team can train you and we can fix it together, or if you're just not a right fit. So those conversations can 100% happen. We always look for people who are eager and excited and like, I don't need perfect anything, because if you have the right values and the right work ethic, then we can, I mean, skills are important, but you don't need to be like the best of the best in some areas, I think. So it is 100% I would say probably every 3 months, having that conversation, like, how do you think it's going? Here's what went well. It's the same thing we do in like renewal conversations. Hey, here's what I've seen. Here's what went well. Where do you want to go? What's getting in the way right now? I believe that the 8 performers we work with, they want to do well. And some people can't handle not being where they like want to be. And then some people are like, I really want to do well and I'm working at it so I can kind of handle this like messy middle.
I love this. This is my favorite thing to talk about. I want to flag, because I was thinking of you, Tiffany. I want more and I deserve more are 2 totally different things. And I have very little tolerance for I deserve more. Money. Anything. Money, recognition. I should be on the stage. I want more. Oh my gosh, tell me more. You see this future for yourself. You feel safe expressing that you like, please give me more. Oh my gosh, have that conversation all day. I deserve more. First of all, feels a little bit like looking in the rearview mirror. Look what I did for you. You should have recognized that right? Okay, great. Like, I'm here for everybody speaking up, but the distinction in the language, do you hear that? I want more. I would love to be invited for more. Can we explore more? All day, positive, love it. I deserve more. I'm entitled to more. And there are words that are even more nuanced that actually mean the same thing. So if you feel like in your gut, wow, that word just like really activated and triggered me, this room knows I don't do Friday night fires with teams. And I try very hard not to let someone else's urgency become my emergency. If it's urgent for them to make more money, if it's urgent for them to have the conversation, that's their business, but it's not yours. And so I just want, I hope that it is helpful to say, hey, I love this. And it's a conversation I'm open to having. Right now, I want us to stay focused on this, this, and this, because this is what we're trying to achieve. And we can talk about it over here. And you can even schedule it. Yeah, hear that this is something you want to discuss, whether it's compensation or whatever. So let's do this together. And then why don't we connect at this time? And I would love for you to bring to that conversation all of these things. Because what I find, and it goes both ways, if you were to come to me, let's say you were on the team, hey, I really want to make more, right? Like I want more, or like I've been contributing so much. Now I'm doing things that are out of scope from what we talked about. I would like more money, right? And then sometimes it's more nuanced than that. Sometimes they're not that direct, but that's how you're receiving it. Okay, great. So in order for me to get excited about that conversation, because I want that for you, I hear that you want to grow, what I would need to see is how you see the work you're doing leading to revenue, or the work that you're doing leading to me getting my time back so that I can go sell. And so when you give them the opportunity to put a little emotional intelligence behind the conversation, you either see their eyes go wide, they've never been confronted with oh, what do you mean I have to actually tell you why I think I'm worth more? And so you give them the space, or you realize they're not actually prepared for that type of conversation. Does that? I'm gonna let that land, and I know that's
You've said
that's
this
deep.
to me before in a different way, but the way you just explained that, it made a little more sense. I think that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was very helpful.
On comp, there are margins that you have, and they're flexible and they're not, right? Your margins get bigger if you are making more money and you're decreasing expenses. And so ideally, you want higher margins. You want more profit, right? As you grow, because when you have more money, this is a room of really good people who do good things with money. And part of the good you do is empowering a team to go do good things for our families, right? That's the ripple effect. But you have to be profitable and you have to have margins. And then you have to think, well, I have this pie. Some of it's going to go to growth. So that might be Facebook ads, or it might be content. Some of it's going to go to actual operating expenses, and some of it's going to go to team. So for you, it's a numbers game. It's not emotional. What I have to spend, I have a budget. We have a client success budget that's different from a marketing budget, that's different from an events budget. And we're sort of managing all of that. right? So having like a really good sense of like, well, here's what I have to spend. And then what I find is really helpful is like, here's where we are now. Nicole has done this incredibly successfully with team members. Like, here's where we are right now. What can we do together for this? And then if this goes well and we continue to talk about growth, we can figure out like, what else could you do that would help the company grow? Because that's where the margins grow. So the number, like I can't look and be like, oh, it's $25 an hour. It's $150 an hour. You should pay $1,500 a month. Because for the right person, if you're hiring for emotional intelligence and you're leading from a place of like, I'm not going to let their urgency become my emergency and make me feel like I have to make a decision or I'm going to lose somebody, you get to make more mature decisions. And you can also say like, well, here's what I'd have to bring in because I don't want to lose Jess. I want Jess to feel like there's space for growth. And the only last thing I'll say, because you brought up renewals, which I thought was such a good, like, if we were like, hey, Farwa, I know we haven't talked about this. Your contract expires tomorrow. Do you want to join VIP? Here it is. Like, decide right now. I can't even imagine how poorly that conversation. If we had the best client success, you would still be like, what do you mean I have to decide right now if I'm continuing? The renewal conversation is planted on the first day that you join Elevate, right? It's not explicit, but it's like, how are we showing up every day and planting seeds, having conversations, really showing you that we want you to grow so that when that opportunity comes to like, do you want to stay? Do you want to continue? You're not rushed by it, right? And so like that happens too with the culture. And like Nicole was saying about taking some time and like maybe it's every 3 months and you can kind of schedule it. Like you never let people run out of future, which is one of my very favorite things Nicole's ever said. But I hope that's helpful with that. But like breathe. I'm not saying you, like all of it, like breathe. And if a team member is activating you and you're just like, I feel like I have to make a decision or a bad decision or they're going to go, or I'm like, if you don't feel expansive on payroll day, then like shut it off, shut it down and figure out what you have to change. And those hard conversations, those direct conversations are incredibly taxing and emotional. But the right people grow with you, and the people who aren't equipped, they go on to bigger and better things and they're not with you, and that's fine.
I have 2 questions. No one in my company works full-time either, but when I'm bringing in someone for a leadership position, they have this, like you said, I want this 40-hour-a-week mindset. And so I'm like, well, we don't work 40 hours a week, but here's the salary. But they're like, for my other job, I made this and I was expecting this. And so the mindset around, okay, you're only going to work maybe, 20 to 30 hours a week. But yet on times when it demands a little bit more, I find they might have 2 or 3 other jobs and they're like, oh, I can't be available for that. So like, I need them to be available throughout the week because we're doing client delivery Monday through Friday, every morning and afternoon that they may have to step in and support. But it's not always that way. But I need their availability, but they're not always going to have to work.
So from my perspective, this is where the scope is so, so important, like roles and responsibilities.
Yeah.
I feel like we would probably all agree on this because if that's outlined, that takes the emotion out of it. And I love what you just said, like some of those conversations can be taxing and emotional. And also sometimes they're not because their expectations are so clear. So I know if I have a question for Dan or Nicole or Katie, I'm not like, oh, this is going to be, my Friday's going to be ruined. I've got to talk to Dan or Nicole. I'm more like, oh, I need to let them know this. I'm going to be respected. They're going to come back. We're going to I know it's going to be fine. So I would say the scope would need to be clear that some months this would be, let's say 30 hours approximately.
And the scope is clear.
Okay. Yeah. And then some months it's 40. And then I feel like if there's a conversation around like, hey, if for 3 months you've requested 40 hours of availability and the scope was 30, then there needs to be a conversation on their end. On the flip side, if for 3 months you've expected 30 hours of availability and it's only been 20, then there's a conversation on your side. And it kind of gives the freedom on both sides to be like, hey, this has been, and don't let it go a year. Don't let it build resentment. But this has gone 3 months where I've come and I've done way more than what we agreed. And we need to have this conversation now because it's consistent and I can prove that. On the flip side, if you're like, hey, this was, a 90-day trial period. We asked you for 30 hours of availability. We've only had 20. I really would like to either have you do more things and add to the role and responsibility, or we need to cut the comp back. For me, that would make sense as a contractor to be like, that's how we would adjust that convo and have the expectation that it's going to be more some months and it's going to balance out. And if it's not, then people aren't happy and that needs to be addressed.
And we've had those conversations and they're really unemotional, right? Like even with a friendship, like we separate those conversations. And I think something that we have learned to do is and Katie, maybe you and Jess could talk about this a little bit, but it's like, here's what's coming up. And we cast the broad strokes. That's coming back to the line of like, don't let your clients run out of future, but don't let your team run out of future. So we tell them like, hey, here's what we're forecasting for the next, I mean, as far as we can go. We always do 6 months into the future. So when we have event dates, they're the first people to know, to see if they're available, to see what they're thinking. Then I would say every 6 months, every 3 months, and every single month, a memo goes out to the entire team that says, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what's happening for our clients. There's a personal note from me. This is what's happening. And it just fills them in. And then we have our channel in Voxer where we can share more urgent things, but really nothing. It's so rare that anything is urgent for us. Everything really is planned out, and very rarely does anything need to change. But Katie, like, everyone travels here. We all have lives, we all have families, and it's all respected. We just need to know.
And I have a lot of urgency in my business because they're, teaching classes. And if someone can't be there, they need to be able to step in to do it. So there is a lot of urgency. So it's fine until it's not. So I just wondered if anyone had any perspective on that.
I think the other thing is like, it all, like, from my perspective, it all comes down to offer. It's like, if you would tell me, hey, 4 of your team members are going to fly in and spend 2 days and they have no idea if they're going to be on stage for 8 hours or 2 minutes, and they're going to say yes, I'd be like, that's insane. But we gave them, like, we crafted an offer to them and said, we are willing to pay you this. We're willing to give you this. We're willing to do this. And they were like, yes, but they could have said no. So I think the other piece of it, even going to what Allie was saying, is like, you need to craft your offer to your employees like you craft your offer to your clients. And so there is someone who wants this particular job, who wants that availability. You have to sell them on it. And I think that's something that, like, I've really had to work on, is like, I love selling, but it's really hard to get me to sell to someone who I'm going to pay. It's like kind of a mind mess with me. Is like, I just take on too much responsibility. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to expect all this. But I think it is the same thing. So.
Well, and I think it goes back to the person, because I totally interviewed Jess on this whole thing last time. I was like, okay, how? And I think it's the person, because some people, to Allie's point, is they get it, they want it, they understand the needs of the business shift and change, but then they have a fixed mindset. And that's that. Okay, the other question is paying for someone to do the marketing. Like, doing this has been very eye-opening for me. And it's made me realize, like, yes, the systems are great, but I need help and support in someone actually executing it. And so for those of you guys who have that role in your business, is it a contractor? Is it in-house? And how and what do you pay? And how do you come up with a budget for that?
I was just on your previous statement on what Dan was saying about the offer itself. Like, I will 100% say that what was crafted for me, for my position and what I accepted, would not pass muster for the rest of the team. But Dan and Nicole were very transparent with me about what they wanted, and I was very transparent with them about what this is what I can't give on. Right? I will work as much as you need me to work, but if I have to go to a function for my kids, that's my priority. And I don't know how much I work each week, and I don't work the same hours every day, but Katie knows a month in advance what I'm available for very specifically. And I mean, I literally, before we came up here, told her, like, hey, May is weird, but I've got it figured out. And if I can just run it by you and make sure that it's good and that everybody, that I'm meeting the needs, even if it's outside of my normal working hours, I'll get it done. But if I hadn't told them that literally the first time we ever spoke, then it would make no sense for me to be like, hey, my kid has a thing. And they're like, everybody's kid has a thing, but you're supposed to work this day. They know in advance, like, that's my priority. And I know for them, it's, if you get your work done and you know what I mean? Like, clients' needs are met, everything's going well, I can tell them whenever I need to, and it's fine.
When it comes down to, like, done for you marketing services, a lot of people get in trouble with that because you're hiring someone to try to replicate your voice. So where I like to do is, like, hiring specific contractors for specific things. So if you need a landing page built, okay, I'm going to build that on this platform, but you own it. But you're going to provide the copy. Yeah. Or hire Katie to do it, or hire someone, a Katie. But like, but where it gets tricky with marketing is you get into that stuff where people are like, oh, no, just give me everything. I'm going to build your marketing system for you. You don't need to do anything. That's where people get in trouble because it's your voice. You are unique. And that's why we don't do done for you marketing, is because we've tried it and it doesn't work. It needs to be you. And that's why it's different. Like handing over client success, there's a system to follow. It's done. Handing over marketing, it's a whole different ballgame, and it's constantly changing. So that's where it gets into a little bit of a tricky part. Hiring for a technician to build out a page, build out a sequence, something like that, that's fine, do it. But in terms of like the actual brain power, that's why I would prefer it to be you.
I just want to be specific too. I'm going to answer your specific question without specificity intentionally, because there's no right, wrong answer. There are pros about hiring somebody W-2 salary, full-time, part-time, whatever, like W-2 versus contractor. And each one of them has pros and cons. What I would invite you to do, and for all of you, like one of my favorite things to do is to challenge you to write job descriptions, whether it's an active hire you're making, the org chart for the future, like is this your $10 million org chart? But my favorite job descriptions are the ones, and back to Allie's point about the title or the role or the salary, that is like the last piece. That's the 5% you attach at the end. The actual job description or who I'm looking for, like, please be you. If I were writing a job description for Nicole, or like if I was writing what I think Nicole needs in me, it wouldn't be like, it would just be like, hey, here's what I need. Here's what I bring. I'm a visionary. I love to support my team. I'm really good at this, this, and this. And when I'm in my zone of genius, we serve hundreds of thousands of people and have an impact. What I don't love to do and what I'm looking for is somebody who can run as fast as me, who can take my ideas and actually implement them, who can challenge, so it's like more of a conversation. And I think I've said to Tiffany, I've said to a number of people, it's like, I will put myself in the category of high performer. Like I'm looking for my unicorn of a CEO, by the way, you guys. Like I have said this so many times, I'm not a visionary. I can only run when I'm led by somebody who has a huge, bold vision, right? I'm in the minority in this room where I'm like, please put me into support and serve. That is actually what I was put on this earth to do. And I am the best of the best, but I'm not a CEO, right? Like if you want the big, crazy idea, that's not me. But I live to serve people who have those ideas, because I know that Nicole's big, bold vision can't be executed unless she has somebody to run with her, right? So like that level of confidence and the embodiment that I have in the value that I bring is, again, a shift because of this team. But what that means is that if I read a job description and it's like, it's this and this and this, I would swipe, like, I don't do dating apps, 20 years married, but like whatever the like HR version of swiping left or right, like gone. But if somebody were to be like, here's who I am, here's what I'm great at, here's what I love, and you will love working with me if, then the conversation, of course, still has to be transactional. Okay, well, I'd love that job, but like, am I going to make, like, is it worth my time? But the conversation is so much more powerful when you're just like, here's who I am. Do you want to be a part of this mission? And like, some people don't. Some people are like, actually I don't care what you're doing. I'm just clocking in, clocking out. I don't have any judgment about that. But for the people you actually are talking about hiring, you want someone who's like, I want to build something so big and my role is this. And I think this is like verbatim what I said to Tiffany at one point. I'm like, I believe in myself and the high performers you want. I'm willing to put my skin in the game. I might think, hey, I'd love to make this. But what I'm willing to do is join a team where I see so much future. I'm going to start here because you're not going to leave me behind. And I believe so strongly that when I come in, I'm going to start with emails, or I'm going to start with this. And like, you're never going to get rid of me. And every conversation we have is going to be like, how can we get more of you? Again, a lot of that is just like the mindset and the energy of being like, I'm going to test it and it's safe, because every time I have done that with Nicole and Dan, it's benefited me. So I just want this room to be like, yes, ask us, like someone said, like, I looked up the industry average, great, like research, information collect, and then also just be like, you know what? I'm setting the new standard. And the people that want to work for me are going to want more. They're not going to necessarily feel like they deserve more. And the people who I'm excited to have that conversation, who I want to pay, I want to triple I want to build them a McMansion. Like I want whatever that is. I want to let them buy the car of their dreams. I want them to, like I want to build this thing. Those people are not going to be attracted to a dollar rate. They're going to be attracted to the mission, the vision, and feeling like they're going to be working with somebody who is so supportive and will cheer for them. I know that's not the answer of like start with $30 an hour and then go to this and do like, and I will have those very specific conversations with everyone.
But that, like, you sound like it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I wish I could capture it.
Do you think I'm a unicorn? Because I'm not. Like, I'm not. Jess is not a unicorn. I'm not a unicorn. I'm the best of the best. And there are more.
And I guess I'm struggling so much because I'm so involved in the client delivery, and all these ideas are beautiful.
That right there,
and
that's the opportunity.
It's the opportunity, but I don't understand where to go or what to add. I mean, I can tell my vision all day long, but to throw out an ad and then to get someone on a call or to get someone to a coffee shop, I feel like there's a large chasm, and they're standing on this edge of the cliff, and I'm on this edge of the cliff, and I'm like, hello.
So what would be the first step though? Like, you're like, hey, person, I think you're over there. I really like, what would be the first step for you?
Well, I mean, having conversations, but in this world, I don't know who to talk to. Is it putting an ad on Indeed? Is it posting something on LinkedIn?
Here's what I want you to do. And again, for those of you in the room, those of you who are listening, I want you to take the first step and just brain dump. Magic wand. If I didn't have to figure out the how or the who or the what, like if I wasn't thinking about this as a cliff and I was just like, you know what? If I could just map out exactly what I need and do it like the template I just said. If you would be a great fit if you love working with somebody who is this, this, and this, who loves this, who is not this, like do the messy first draft.
And then their question is, and what's the
But
pay?
I didn't say like put it out there yet. I'm just asking you to do the first step.
Put it out there.
Because I think what I'm hearing from you, and I think this might be relatable to many of you, you are looking at the 100 steps to hiring. And also like, what if they suck? What if I have to fire them? What if they like that?
But on Indeed, you have to put a salary. Am I the only one that is struggling with this?
Google Doc, dump it. Okay.
But the really important thing here, and I've been through this many times, is you have to know when it's time to hire and when it's not. And I'm not talking about going through the 100 steps. If you're in the space where you're not so fucking amped up to find the person, and you know, because it is like, it's a lot of steps. It totally is. And there are places like we just fired someone a few weeks ago. I'm emotionally like unavailable right now to hire. That's fine. We got this. It's fine. And then I'm going to get to the space where I'm like so amped up. And I know this about myself, where I'm just like going to be hyped up to add someone to our team. And you have to know when the role is, because Brianne and Danny came in and they're contractors, but I was like so amped up to work with them that they just gave me so much energy that I was like, let's go. Like, okay, great. Like, let's do the next thing. Let's do the next thing. Like, lock in the dates. But there's some holes, but we got it right now because I'm not amped up. There's no energy there. And that comes back to your intuition. That comes back to knowing yourself. That comes back to how you are uniquely created. If you're the one hiring, which we're still in hiring conversations, like the three of us, for the roles, I have to be a part of that because it has to be a right fit. So I have to know myself and say, like, is this going to give me energy right now or not? And I think about that person at the end, and you get to decide if it's right for you or if it's not a right now thing. But you have options always. You can continue as you are right now, which there's nothing wrong with. Katie just said to me, you are not broken. I was like, oh, thank you for the reminder. And then there's times where you do, there's times that you don't. There's no good, bad, right, or wrong. You have to know yourself and what is coming up for you and honor that and know when to move and know when to pause. So I think this team has only, again, grown because I was willing to take the masks off. I was willing to get to know myself. I was willing to build that relationship with the business and what it needed. And they're all the byproduct of that. I have been so happy and feel so brave for taking so many risks in our business, including everyone who is and isn't up here. Everyone who has and has not worked for us anymore. They have all, whether they're here or not, shaped our business and touched lives and been a part of the mission and the vision of the business. And it is so gratifying, but you have to be in the right headspace and you have to know I am worth it. The business is worth it and I can do this. So it's up to every one of you to decide, is this a time for me to get support in my business? Or is it a time for me to get support in my personal life? Or is it a time for me to just look for emotional support? There's no wrong. Just invite that in more and then know what's right for you in the moment. And we are all 100% available for continuing these conversations. And what I hope that you have just walked away with is proof, expansion, that the right people are available to you when you are ready to receive them.